Identity and Change is the title for the latest episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. First of all, thank you guys so much for watching. I can't appreciate enough how much you guys actually watch my reviews for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Right when I have a few doubts about whether or not I should continue this, you guys give me, at the time of this video, the latest review got like 300 views, and it's been, granted it's been a week, but it escalated quickly. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So with this new episode, we kind of got like a part 2 from last week's episode where we're still in the framework and the whole tone and atmosphere has been established, but now we're playing catch up with a couple of the characters that we didn't see in that previous episode. We finally got to see Mac and what he's been up to, and we knew that he was together with his daughter again, and we see that daughter here, Hope, and his life, of how his life would have been like if his daughter was still alive, he was still around, and he was happy. He was genuinely happy, except he's happy in a world where he is compliant. Is that the word, compliant? He's given compliance over to the New Order, which is Hydra. And what I thought was kind of clever is that they used Mac to... I mean, we saw shades of this in the previous episode, and I didn't get to talk about it much. But here, we further escalate the stakes, and we also explore just how scary this world of Hydra taking over really is. Because they are intimidating as hell. And we see that kind of happen with Mac, where he's being torn away from his daughter, he's being interrogated, he's willing to kind of backstab who used to be his friend, Daisy, in order to keep his daughter safe. And I liked that they used, out of all the characters that we got to play around with in this episode, it was Mac the one that they used that for. Although I'm gonna sound really mean, but the only thing that took me out of that whole moment of Mac being having compliance with Hydra, as opposed to how he would be in the real world, where he would be wielding his shotgun axe and not take any kind of shit from these people. And thankfully we see that turn around, because it looks like they're moving pieces into place, and Mac does have a comeback by the end of the episode where he decides to join the Resistance. But the only thing that kind of took me out of this little subplot is his daughter. And I know that sounds mean, but the actress, that little kid actress they got for Hope there, not the best child actress. I'm sorry, but there were certain scenes where you can tell that they were like giving her cards from to the side of the camera, and I'm like, damn it, you were doing so well. But speaking of the Resistance, I should have bet money. I should have bet money with somebody who watches Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I should have made a wager with you to at least have gotten a good $5 out of this deal, because I said in my last review that Mace was going to be the leader of the Resistance. Well, guess who it is? The Patriot himself. After we find Daisy and Coulson, who's starting to kind of regain his memories, be taken to old S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, who... Hydra did, they make it clear through this little subplot that Hydra was actually won in this framework, at least. Hydra won back in World War II. And the old headquarters are just that. They're old. They still have some World War II memorabilia hanging around. They got some typewriters or whatever. And I dug that. I really dig the establishment here. And I like how the Resistance is pretty much just S.H.I.E.L.D. only in a much more Terminator-like fashion. And I like that they're getting the pieces rolling with Ward seemingly looking like a straight up good guy. He's coming in here, even he's the one who's having trust issues with Gemma, so that's a really good switch as opposed to what we're used to. And I like that they're playing around with these elements, and these elements get even harsher later on when they finally move on over to the island that Radcliffe found himself on. And it only makes sense for Radcliffe to be in this framework because he was uploaded before he was killed by Ada. And I like that they finally got moving with that whole plot device, because you would expect any other show to kind of take their time with it, but by the end of this episode, they find Radcliffe. Radcliffe just lays that on the ground. Hey, I'm not exactly alive anymore. This is just my subconscious. And the same thing with Agnes. And we're simply just trying to live here while at the same time being under the influence of Ada, because she's being manipulating this whole entire thing to the point where even she's trying to keep the illusion going that the framework is real, just like everybody else is under the perception that it's real, with the exception of Simmons and Daisy. And Coulson's kind of coming around, except I'm not a huge fan. I don't hate it, but I'm not a huge fan that I was expecting Coulson to be full-on Coulson after last week's ending stinger. Here in this episode, we learned that he's actually not 100% fully there. He's still talking like, oh, in the other world, are we good guys or whatever? Like, and I don't like that. I feel like that's a trope that we've seen before in other shows and other movies. And I was hoping that they would just switch Coulson 100%, honestly, because the pacing is just keeping the momentum going. Fitz, or the Doctor, and Madame Hydra, or Ada in this case, find them in the island and capture him and take down Agnes. And Fitz making the call to kill Agnes right there and then is a big plot device. It's a big thing that I think should not be ignored, because I'm about to drop a potential theory that could break some hearts out there. Fitz has now officially put himself on the table to die by the end of season 4. I would not be completely surprised. Well, I'll be slightly surprised, but I won't be completely shocked to see them pull that card out of their sleeve to kill off Fitz. Why? Because he was willing to go the extra mile to kill that other person, and Simmons was able to kind of project that onto not only the characters in the show, but also to us, the audience. She says that the Fitz that she knows and loves would not kill an innocent woman. He just did that. He just did that. And if his will was strong enough, he would have fought the temptation. And for a second, I thought that that's what they were going to do. He was going to be like, just take her away. Like, he was just going to have her be taken away or imprisoned or whatever. He kills her. He kills her right there and there with almost no flinch in his facial expression. Like, nothing. And that, to me, from a storytelling perspective, gave me the impression that, okay, from this point forward, the only way that this whole act could be redeemed from jumping into the evil pool here with Madame Hydra would be for him to sacrifice himself to save Simmons. And even at a point, Ward looked like he was going to take that shot, especially because he was like, he's threatening an innocent, he's about to shoot an innocent woman, I need to take this shot. That's the only way that this arc can kind of go around. And even Simmons said it, that when you lose somebody in the framework, you can lose them for real, because that's their subconscious. If they die in this framework, they're going to die for real, and they're just going to be a couch potato in the real world. So Simmons tells Ward, if I lose Fitz here, he's going to be gone forever. She laid down the rules, and now from a storytelling perspective, we have Fitz starting this point of redemption after committing that act. If he had not committed that act, then there still would have been hope. But because not only did he do that, but he also had Radcliffe tortured in that other room, and now he's about to do some heinous shit over to Daisy after having her be beat up at the Triskelion. The only way, and it may not be the only way, but one of the more sound ways for Fitz to find redemption as the season goes on would be to make that ultimate sacrifice that will save Simmons and everybody else. And I will not rule out the possibility of Fitz dying by the end of season 4. Before I wrap up the review, I want to give some special shout outs to some of the callbacks that they included in the writing for this episode. The guys over at S.H.I.E.L.D, the guys and girls over at S.H.I.E.L.D, they always do a good job at tying everything together, even if it feels like it's been so far since season 1. There's always something that they kind of call back to know that they're not going to just shy away from their roots. I really dug the callback to Hive when Radcliffe first sees Ward, but he notices that he's different, and he's like, no, you're not Hive, you're the guy from before, I never met you. That was really cool line right there. And I like that they brought back Burroughs, but this time, because we're in an alternate universe, he's actually a little bit of a badass. He looks like he's actually taken on the role of a soldier rather than the sleazy press manager or whatever the hell he was for Mace. So those were really cool tie-ins that really elevated the punch-up for the writing and the punch-up for this episode that actually made me enjoy this a bit more, just a sliver more than last week's episode. So I'm going to be giving Identity and Change, I almost forgot the title, a solid 8 out of 10. I guess the only thing that doesn't make it leaps and bounds over last week's episode is that there were some acting choices that just didn't pan out for me, from that little girl to even Agent May, Ming-Na Wen. She's terrific, and when she is in a two-person conversation with somebody, especially in this alternate world of Hydra, she's very intimidating. But there were some shots where she's walking around and she's doing this thing, like, it just looked kind of silly, especially when she's waving the gun around. She's I just felt like she was overdoing it just a tad bit, and they could have used a second take, but that's just me personally. Anyways, nitpicks aside, really enjoyed this episode. But please let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Do you think that Fitz has put himself in jeopardy of getting killed off by the end of the season? Because, again, from a storytelling point of view, that's the only kind of arc that they could take it from this point on, because he killed another human being. That's the only way that things can kind of come about, similar to how other shows expect for a character to die, because that's the only way that you can kind of find redemption in them so that they can right the wrongs that they've done. Do you think that they're going to adapt that over to Fitz' story arc, and is that the way that things are going to plan out for the remainder episodes that we have? And considering how many pieces we've got moving at this point, because we've already got Radcliffe, Mac is on board to helping out the Resistance, I don't think there's any other characters that we need to catch up with. I think everybody's on roll call, so to speak. So I think that my prediction is that we got maybe 1 or 2 episodes left before we jump back into the real world and our heroes take the fight to Ada. Until then, however, be sure to like and share this video, and of course subscribe for more reviews on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as we wind down to the season 4 finale. And of course, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter to poke at my brain without the need of the framework by following me at DarkSpiderDavid. Until next time, guys, take care. I will see you all later.